we are.
They must have a microphone on or something.
Is there another program on?
They're watching us.
There is, so.
Yeah, there you go. That's helpful. Me? Not that long ago. Forget what for, but probably for our concert in Europe.
Oh, yeah, you have to dress.
But it was a boat. But I feel like I tied a tie recently. I remember how to do it. Yeah. Is it a single Windsor or?
Get into the meeting here.
Remember, I couldn't remember how to do it, and then I looked it up online, and there was howtotieatie.com.
Right. So we're going to use that.
It's helpful. So if I have questions on the management report, should I pull it or should I just put a couple things in? Okay. Yeah. Okay. I just have a couple little things, but. Go ahead. That'll make it easy for me. Well, technology's not helping tonight, is it? Did they have a microphone on or something? They tried.
Oh, really?
No, I think we already did
We've already done it.
roll call.
Okay, so now there's no public hearing, so we're going to board members' opportunity to remove items from consent agenda.
And I'd like to remove the management / department updates,
Okay, we'll put that at the end of the
4.3.
agenda. Any other?
Nope. I'll move approval of the remainder of the consent agenda.
I second.
Okay, I guess we have to do a roll call.
Oh, we do.
No, yes or no?
Yes.
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 Yes. So now we're at oral and written communications. This is the opportunity to discuss anything that's not on the agenda, including, I suppose, board members. There's no one in the public here, so.
I have something. With the fires in LA and also the battery plant down on Moss Landing and other things going on, and it has raised in my awareness just the real necessity of us having good emergency plans. And I don't know where we stand on that, so I'd like to have that agendized in a future meeting.
Yes, and I would just like to note, I think since 2020, end of 2024, and as we were embarking on 2025, the district staff had started to identify emergency preparedness and emergency response as something to focus on in this year. Specifically, we have started to implement our safety committee again, and then the water wisdom column that we run in TPG is specifically focused on emergencies and an agency's perspective on wildfires. So you'll see that article come out in 2 weeks, I think about, in the Aptos Times and then Capitola.
So it sounds like we're thinking alike.
I think California as a whole is starting to definitely think alike, and I think that the like Aqua and other conferences are going to be focusing a lot on lessons learned with Southern California.
So I'll leave it up to you on how brief an item, or even just something saying, here's what's going on now, and then here's our time schedule, and we'll bring it back later as things get more defined.
Okay, and you have anything? Okay.
It's just down memory lane and make a comment about that we almost joined a project at Moss Landing to get desaled water that was tied to a power tower. At the same time, we didn't do that. I wonder what would have happened to our water supply. It's kind of interesting. So there's another reason to be grateful for Soquel that we found a good path.
Yeah, that project is no longer a project.
Well, good thing. I think. Well, other public agencies are depending on that water too.
I actually have a
Oh, okay.
have we received all of the grants that we were
Yes.
approved for us? Good. Because reading a little update from water reuse today, sounds like anybody that's got anything in the pipeline right now could be a problem. So I feel bad for them, but hopefully that'll sort out.
Yeah. Jennifer, did you have anything? Don't want to leave you out.
Former President Jaffe, and I was thinking a lot about lessons learned and about setting expectations of the public for really what the job of the water district is in terms of emergencies, particularly after fire and cleanup. So I think these are really important things to follow up on. So yes, thank you.
Okay, so we will move on to reports. District Council.
President Lather, can I just make one other announcement? I did just
yeah.
want to welcome our new HR manager, David Terrazas, is in the audience with our other managers tonight.
You do. Don't we do the consent agenda right now?
We did.
We already.
I mean, we already approved it.
Yeah, you voted.
Pull myself together.
Sorry. District Council, do you have a report?
Thanks, President Lather. Just a very brief one this evening. So it's that time of year where we're kind of going through all the bills that were made into law and took effect January 1st and highlighting those. We are working on more of a written summary of all the bills, but there was one I wanted to highlight just given its nature to our meetings, and that's AB 2302. What this bill does is it changes the number of times that directors can call in from a private remote location for a meeting for just cause or an emergency. So taking a step back, and as a reminder, there are really two ways that you can participate remotely in a meeting. The first is under the traditional teleconference rules like Director Balboni is this evening. Under those rules, You can call in remotely an essentially unlimited number of times, but what's important is that your location be included on the agenda and that that's a public meeting location, so conceivably someone could provide public comment from that area. The second, and what we used to call the AB 2449 requirements, is the current version of the COVID rules, essentially. And it, as mentioned, allows directors to call in remotely for an emergency or just cause. Just brief reminders of what those qualify as. An emergency is, truly a family or medical emergency. Just cause includes family care, if you're suffering from a contagious illness, if you have a disability, or if you're traveling for agency business, either the districts or another state or local agency. Previously, there were limits on the number of times each year you could use the private meeting, remote meeting location rules, and they were really tied to the number of times the agency met, and they were different depending on which one to use, and frankly, a little confusing. So what this bill does is it just clarifies the number of times that directors can use these requirements based on the number of times that this board meets. So for us, because we generally meet twice a month, you're able to use these requirements twice a year, so 2 meetings a year. I know a number of you sit on other boards, so I'll go through the other requirements just an FYI. If an agency meets once or less a month, it is, it's 5 meetings for us because we're 2 times a month. It's 2 meetings a year if you meet once a month or less. And if you meet 3 times or more a month, it's 7 meetings per year. As mentioned, we'll continue to kind of update these or highlight those that we think are of note, and we'll distribute that written report as it becomes available. Thank you.
Can I ask a very quick question? Is that a calendar year, the water year, or is it?
Can you hear that?
Yeah, I can. It's an excellent question, Director Balmoni. And just for everyone, the question was how a year is calculated, if that's calendar year, water year, fiscal year. It is a calendar year, so it resets every January 1st.
Thank you.
Even for our water board, it's a calendar year.
Okay. Now we can move on to administrative business. There's no conditional and unconditional will serve, so the next item would be receive 2024 year in review slideshow. Becca?
Yes, thank you, President Leather. So we put together, with help from every department, a year in review, calendar year in review 2024. I'm not sure if you're going to get to hear the music with technology tonight. Sure.
So I think the video speaks for itself, and it's kind of a highlight. I know in years past we've done it at the end of the year, and I think it was last year when we switched it to January, just because there's a lot still happening at the end of the year. And then looking back, even before that, we used to do kind of a year review where it was a staff memo. But I think pictures speak 1,000 words, and it's really fun to be able to not only look at the year in terms of pictures, but also in terms of data and information. So this is something that we put together, we presented to the board at a board meeting, and then this is also something that we will put out in our once a month quick sips, so it'll go out in next month's edition. It has music, but we don't know about technology tonight. I think we just let it go. Oh. Ooh. just to kind of narrate a little bit over this. It's organized based upon our district's mission and our strategic plan. So the priority goals, so it's highlighting water resources and infrastructure. This one will be fiscal responsibility, outreach, communication, trust. There's some other topics, and I can't think of them right now. Customer service, workforce development, and excellence.
Leslie. Leslie. With music?
With it played without music, it made us want to talk over it, and maybe next year we'll actually take some time to talk and hit some of the key milestones to give you a little bit more of that background information, because there's a lot of work that's being done by the employees over the year that we would love to continue to showcase.
So I have one little thing I saw, it flashed by quickly, but it was odor, smell. And they misspell it there, so you put it odor. They can't find it. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, I've had that. Sulfur.
Okay,
That's
so, yeah. So next we have 7.3, receive information on the agenda and meeting portal website upgrade and review the proposed agenda memo formatting updates. Are you going to have problems with the?
No, I think we'll be able to talk through it, and all the changes are in the packet. We were just going to walk through one of the websites, and we'll see if that gets loaded after we're done talking through it. So this item is presented to share about the update to the district's website, where we'll start using an agenda portal, and then also some proposed formatting updates to the agenda and board packet. So the goal of this is to increase accessibility, standardization, and then efficiency for staff. And that's for both the formatting updates and the agenda portal. And I think what's we really wanted to highlight about the agenda portal is that it changes mostly the back-end workflows for staff when preparing agenda items. But once it's on our website, we'll still have the same information being shared. It'll just look a little bit different. So once the transition takes place, it's going to be about 3 to 4 months, and I'm sure we'll take some time at a board meeting to walk through the website once it's updated.
I think you should just make us figure it out. That's what everybody else is going to do.
We could also do it that way and get feedback too.
We can't do it then.
That's a good question.
Yeah, I like that idea, Carla. Okay, so I think we're not going to walk through Monterey. We were going to walk through Monterey One Water's agenda portal, but technology. But one thing I just wanted to share that Becca and I just found out is when it's uploaded in the agenda portal, it's viewable kind of like a standard PDF, but you can highlight and write notes on it and then save that to your computer. So if directors are going through the packet and highlighting items, as long as you hit save and download, it'll automatically save all of your comments and highlights from the packet, which is pretty cool.
For yourself?
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
So you can look at it. So we'd save it on our computer.
Yeah. So I think some of you already do that now on your iPads or laptops, but in this portal, you can kind of operate the same way using the web and then just download it all in one. So it's pretty user friendly. Becca and I were testing it out earlier. But yeah, so in short, the agenda portal is mainly changing back-end kind of workflows for staff, and then hopefully super user-friendly once it's operating. And then the agenda and formatting changes, essentially, they're mostly to enhance accessibility. Staff looked at a bunch of different agencies' agendas and memos and took what we liked, made some language updates, and that's what you'll see in your packet. Melanie, is there anything you wanted to add?
I think it was already included in the memo, but just to highlight, a lot of the inclusions of the improvements were by recommendations from legal, just to help streamline and clean up the agenda. And then in terms of the memo, I think our memo formatting has not really been updated for some time. So we were taking this as an opportunity to kind of gear up for the agenda portal and developing the packet online to also clean up the memo. Common things such as our signature, we're taking that off. It will still have who prepared the memo by what department, but it'll be more at the top. And then they'll have just more of a template style setting related to the item that is being presented, which would include, the summary or purpose, the background, the discussion, and then the memos. Some things to note just on the memos, and I think, again, this was done by Emma and looking at a lot of different packets, and then just best management practices. The motions on the memo, I think, will be a new change, but I think a better change just in terms of clarity, taking off the take no action, since that is something that the board can always do, and be more based upon some staff recommendations to just narrow in on kind of the motion at hand for that item.
Okay, are there any questions? Comments?
Yeah, so are the minutes, although the format's going to be different, is the level of detail anticipated to be about the same?
That's what I'm expecting. You can set your templates any way you want with the new portal. So unless I hear other direction, I was planning to keep it how they've been.
Yeah, that seems reasonable. We've been through, over the years, many different levels of detail. And right now, since usually we have, a video of the meeting, there's less detail required. So, and
A good compromise now.
yeah, I think so.
Okay, so that was just for information, Matt, items. So now we would go to the management department updates, which was requested to be brought up. And I guess both of you wanted to talk about it. Do you want to start, Director Jaffe?
I've got a couple minor things and one where there might be a discussion. And are we able to get, so, well, I'll just begin talking. So it doesn't look like we will. So on page 11 of 40, consent agenda. Oh, wait, this is not in 4.3.
Well, it is.
No, it's on 4.2. So I don't have those comments because I can't make those comments. I'll make them another time. You want to you want to talk about your two
That's
things?
fine. Mine are short. One was just, there was a lot of information described on the city of Santa Cruz, including coordination, O'Neill and Beltswell interactions, water quality trends, cooperative groundwater management agreement, intertie operations, all this stuff. It'd be nice to get like an update on the city of Santa Cruz coordination at some point, just so that I don't want to ask all those questions now, but just a little connection, like where are they, and all. I'd just like a little more information on that. And then people always ask me, including former board member Bruce Daniels, like, when's the water going to flow on Pure Water Soquel? So I just had that question, what the latest update is.
There should be a button under the table, under Melanie.
I don't think we need to. I think I got the notes. We can definitely add the coordination question related to the city of Santa Cruz on our special board assignment, Dr. LaHue. And then just in terms of Pure Water Soquel, we're currently in startup and commissioning and testing, and so we're still shooting for, bringing the project online in 2025. A lot of it will be based upon us submitting the information to the state. They have to permit the project. We still are working on some of the punch list items and some of the equipment with Black and Beach. And then the facility site, and Taj, if you want to talk, or I can, we still have McGuire and Hester on the site for the seawater intrusion prevention wells, the equipping project, which we are anticipating to also complete in this first quarter. But the testing part and bringing the project online is dependent upon multiple factors, though.
Yeah. So the wells are going to be going into startup as well as the rest of the plant in the next 2 weeks. We're going to be doing a 7-day test, 24/7. So that'll be the first that 2 of the wells will never have, been tested for recharge. And that'll all be done in preparation for, the demonstration test. It'll be a 21-day demonstration once the state gives us the authorization to do that.
We'll be putting water in them for the first test, or just
Yes, there will be water, but it will not be the purified.
Right.
It'll be our groundwater.
be our groundwater in, just to see how it flows and how that.
It'll be wet testing for a lot of the controls. Also getting some data for the hydrogeologists to think about set points going forward. It is.
I mean, it's exciting. I like knowing where we're at.
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Is there anything else on this item?
Yes. So the Tom, I also was struck by just how much is going on with the city. It's just, and I'm good with the level of detail on this. Sometimes it's easier to put everything down rather than pick out the things that you want to highlight. So I'm good with it, I was glad to see that the district is having quarterly meetings with the city also. But the item I wanted to talk about was conservation state standards reporting. And this was an item I had asked for on the rebate for a flow sensing shutoff valve devices. And there's 3 reasons given for why this should not, it says we do not recommend offering a rebate for these devices due to the following. And the 3rd reason, consumer devices may not meet the same accuracy standards as district meters, which could lead to differing water usage values. It could potentially result in customer confusion. Well, the device, that is one use for the device. But the customer who talked to me was very excited about the ability to very quickly detect if there's a leak. And so although that might be true, I don't think that's the primary use for these devices. And the first 2 reasons, I'm not sure I understand. There's water conservation benefits are not expected to be significant beyond what is already achieved by the district's AMI leak detection system and notification process. And that could be the case, but I guess I don't know enough about how they differ, AMI versus these devices. My impression was that these devices immediate. And my understanding of AMI is that it's transmitted once a day and at best. And so I don't understand this reason. And maybe the significant is, there's a different level of significance than what I would apply. But the second reason is there was no previous customer participations for a similar device as rebated by the district for several years. And as we discussed, and I think the board agreed that not having somebody take advantage of a device, of a rebate, is not a reason to not offer the rebate. And I'd like to know what the downsides would be if this was offered as a rebate. I imagine there'd be some staff time involved with putting together what the rebate would be. But without knowing how much staff time that is, I don't know how to evaluate whether or not it's worth doing. So I don't know if the other directors have similar thoughts about this or not. And I would just like to see a more detailed reason to not offer a rebate on something that could end up changing, that could end up decreasing water waste and giving our customers more control over the water that they use, more knowledge, because these devices do give a lot more than Water Smart would do. So
I can provide a little bit of response on that. The Water Resources Department did some analysis on this device, and as you saw in our analysis of rebates, there has been a bit of a downturn in terms of participation over the years. We had what we called the largest rebate program in the world at one time, because anything that we thought could be a water-saving application tool, we added that into our rebate program. And then just over the last, I think year and a half, we evaluated the rebates and tried to really kind of create a list of rebates that were the most applicable to homeowners that may want to participate in reducing their water use. I think with this device, some of the things that the Water Conservation or the Water Resources Department analyzed was that with the increase in the switch from AMR to AMI, we do have more and more often detection of water savings or leaks, very similar to this device. When we did offer the one that was previous to that, we didn't have any takers. And what this device, I think, is geared more for in terms of water savings or just detection of a leak. I think it was more of a detection versus like a quantified water savings in terms of what the rebate program was designed for. And so with that initial analysis, it really wasn't necessarily, there are some other kinds of devices that may be more prone to water savings as a whole program rollout, but because of the probably limited number of people that would participate on this, given kind of the application before, just like some of our others, it wasn't one that we thought we would want to reopen the rebate program and add. We did want to analyze it, and we do think that there may be some others, but we do feel that the customers have used a lot. And with AMI, it has such that notification feature in there that this wasn't one that we thought we would add. In terms of what does it mean to add to a rebate program, currently, I mean, it takes time just because it depends on if we're just adding it just to add, or if you're asking us to really promote and change. We do still have handouts. We still do try and speak to that when we go out. So there is some administration related to the rebates that would be applied every time we go and modify the rebate program. Shelley, did I capture all that, or is there? Sorry, Jennifer. Yeah.
To say that in general, the trend is that water districts are discontinuing rebates because the data indicates that rebates disproportionately benefit wealthier clients, and so there are equity concerns. So I just wanted to put that out there. That's a big thing that people are talking about.
Jennifer, please send me the information on that.
All right.
Did I capture everything, or do you want to add any? Sure. Is that on, Shelley?
There we go. The way our AMI system works is it sends hourly reads twice a day, so every 12 hours. And we do get alerts when there's been continuous water flow for 24 hours at a rate of more than 3 gallons per hour. We get a leak alert, and then that will go out through WaterSmart if we have the customer's email. If not, then that's up to staff to follow up with the customer. There is a quicker alert, though, if it's a really big leak, and that's called a burst alert. And I think the setting for that is for leaks that are more than 30 gallons per hour. We get a more immediate leak alert for that. So the way that these flow sensing devices work is it's more real time, I guess, notification than what we provide. But you're just shortening really the time frame or the leak amount based on the quicker notification. So there is probably additional savings, but how do you quantify that? It can't be quantified. And we're thinking, we're already saving over probably about 200 acre feet per year with our AMI system. So you're getting diminishing returns, I think, to just chase down this incremental bit of additional savings that you might be able to get is one kind of issue. Another thing is compatibility with our metering system, and the Flow by Moen device, when that first came out a couple years ago, that was not compatible with our master meter multi-jet metering system. I think it may be now, but we haven't really evaluated that for the whole range of products that are out there that could be rebated as a flow sensing shutoff device. That would require staff time, going through and evaluating these products and trying to, educate customers, buy these because they're compatible versus buying, something that's not. So I just think there would be a lot of possible confusion about eligibility for devices, and also with the compatibility, if it's not compatible with our metering system, that could lead to, I think, billing confusion. People are trying to match up the flow sensing device readings with what our AMI system is providing. And if it doesn't match up perfectly, we've seen customers that, think that something's wrong with the meters because it doesn't match up perfectly, and they don't realize that they're not monitoring the meter at the same time frames that our system is. So I just think it would introduce a lot of confusion. And lastly, one thing that's really not talked about in the memo, but it's kind of an equity issue to me. I see that a lot of people maybe with second homes would benefit the most from this type of device. They might get like an insurance break for having the flow sensing device that shuts off in the event of a leak. And I think that, I don't know, I don't really think that we should be incentivizing that, because generally those people may be able to just go out and buy the device without, being incentivized or getting a rebate. But that's my personal thoughts.
Okay.
I don't know how to respond to that. I see my job as a director on the water board as protecting the resource, and whatever protects the resource is something that I want to encourage, and I see this as protecting the resource. So I could see your point of if it'd be hard to put a value on a rebate, on how much to rebate, not knowing what the potential savings would be. And I also see your point that if you were to put staff time into researching every one of these devices and very few people use them, that it would be inefficient use of staff time. What I was envisioning was a more general approach, that there would be some minor rebate to encourage people to use devices like this. And I was also envisioning staff not putting time into which particular devices were recommended, that it'd be a general rebate. So.
Okay, the devices generally cost about $500 to $700. So I don't know, if having a $25 or $50 rebate would create enough incentive. But what were your thoughts on the dollar amount?
I don't, something minor, 25, 50, 100, something in that range. But I could be out in left field here. I don't know if the other directors think the same way as I do.
And Director Jaffe, apologize, I was going to jump in. I mean, this is a report, and it's totally appropriate for us to have a conversation about the report. But if we're looking to have, I think at this point maybe a conversation about the merits of adding this to the rebate program or revisiting the rebate program, recommend the board
agendize it, yeah.
Recommend considering just agendizing that for discussion.
Okay. So I'd like to have further conversations about this, and then Melanie and Shelley, we can determine whether it's worth pursuing.
Okay, we can bring it
I
back
don't, if
as
any
a
other directors
agenda item.
are, it might not, I'm now seeing more when you go into the detail of how you're thinking.
Yeah, there's not a EPA Water Smart certification program for it, like there are for a lot of devices, toilets and faucets and shower heads, and irrigation controllers. So that's another kind of difficulty in like directing people to a product because there is no certification for it currently.
Okay.
Thank you, Shelley.
Yeah, let's not take any more meeting time on this.
I think on some of the things that are requested or of interest, we'll put it on the special board calendar assignment. And if there's something on that list that you guys would like to create and agendize, that the next time we bring that list, you can request that.
Okay. Josh, thanks for stopping the conversation.
And Director Jeff, I know you mentioned maybe having a comment on 4.2. That is just a report. So if the board wished to revisit that, even though it was part of the consent calendar, you have that flexibility. You don't need to, but I wanted to note it.
Well, then I would like to comment. So on the net evapotranspiration versus total production image on page 11 to 40. You have it there. Amazing. So what struck me about this was over the past 5 years, things haven't changed that much in terms of the relationships between our total production and the net evapotranspiration. And if anything, things, our production has gone down a little bit, and the response for the same high values of net evapotranspiration in terms of production is less. So the hotter days and the are less water is being used than it was earlier in the 5-year period. And so people's ways of using water is pretty stable, and that's good for us. We're going to be having decisions that we have to make on how to use pure water Soquel, and also decisions on whether we have additional water that we can perhaps share with people. So this is good news that things aren't changing. And the next figure spoke to me also, the total production for calendar years 2005 to 2024. First of all, I get a smile on my face when I see this trend, and I'm sure Tom does too. 2005, we were just starting to be on the board, and the total acre feet production was 5,000, and now we're down around 3,000. But besides that, I remember discussions, and I think everybody here except Jennifer and was here when we were having the discussions on how water use would change after the 2014 drought. And at that point, we thought that it was going to rebound, or some thought that, and it hasn't. So again, our customers they're basically, there was a lasting impression of, one interpretation is lasting impression of the 2014 drought, and there's been a shift in usage, and perhaps, or most likely, a lot of that's also driven by changes in landscape and other things that would require water. So
That's with an increasing population.
increasing population. So that's good. Both those figures make me hopeful that we're going to be able to recover the basin and keep seawater intrusion from moving inland and hitting our production wells.
We're also on the cusp of having to redo our 5-year urban water management plan. So that will be coming up soon.
So that's just the comments I had on those figures. I'm glad they're in the packet.
Okay, so is there anything else on these items? Oh, then we will move on to closed session.